Hi everyone, it's Eileen Burns here from Stress Coach Training. Now, in this video, I wanted to talk about things that you do, unhealthy coping mechanisms that you tend to have during a crisis, okay? Things that happen when your anxiety levels or stress levels get a little bit out of control or they start creeping up. So, what I want you to do is think about what anxiety and stress is. So anxiety and stress is very much fear. It's a fear of something, okay? And it's that often the what ifs, if you think about anxiety, where this is this fear and pending sort of doom that something bad happen. Stress is when like something happens that we believe that we have to do, or we have to control, or we have to react. So what happens there is that when we feel that there's things that we can't control, okay, we often have very uncomfortable emotions. But the biggest problem that happens today is that we try and squash down and deny the emotions, or we get entangled in the emotions. But most people cope by self-soothing techniques, and it's self-soothing. I'm saying techniques. It's self-soothing habits. That's the right word. And how people do that is that they tend to think like they overeat, right? Overwork. I can really identify with overwork one. Drink more alcohol, and sometimes these things come in. It can be a boredom, but there's an emotional thing. Smoking, games, at any sort of addiction, okay, that we keep repeating something. When we do something, we keep repeating. Even things like, there is some times that even things that are normally healthy can be unhealthy. So someone who becomes a fitness fanatic, so all they do is work out, that can be unhealthy because they've took it to the extreme. Right? So what I want you to do is think about the unhealthy habits that are falling, that you're falling into at the moment. And this is not about judgment. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being compassionate, okay? And just recognizing what habits that you're actually falling into at the moment. And once you start to be aware, you can often, you can correct them or replace them with something more healthy. Okay, so one of the things that happens with us all, when we feel fear, we just want to deny it. Okay, and one or two things happen, then it sort of goes into the body and it stores in the body for later on. Okay, and then it comes out as disease. It gets squashed in there. Okay, we suppress the emotion, and if we do not accept it and just be with the emotion, and I'll explain that in a little minute, what happens is that we try and suppress it, and that's suppressed energy. If we are the opposite and so we're triggered by something, in our fear, or we're triggered by someone, and we keep ruminate over it, and we keep going over and going over and going over it, what we're doing is we're just adding a story to it, and what we're doing is we're perpetuating that in our system, and it's something that we're trying to deny or not face. Okay, we all do it to different degrees and at different times. So again, it's just about noticing these things, and the more that you can be in the moment, the more that you can be present and just accept that's how you feel, it actually tends to shift. But what happens is a lot of people try to force it down, and actually even positive thinking, even though positive thinking is very good, what the key element here is accepting what you feel, not denying what you feel and letting it shift. Obviously, you don't want to find yourself getting into a thing where you're putting thoughts on it. It's the thoughts. When the thoughts start getting carried away about what you're feeling, and you start putting a story, I'm feeling because of this, right? Then that's when you're starting to get into negative thought patterns, right? If you can just accept, this is how I'm feeling at this moment, you tend to shift out of it. But what most people do is they either deny it or they keep ruminating and going over and over why they feel the way they do, or whatever the story that seemed to trigger them, or whatever happened already seemed to trigger them, they keep ruminating that. And obviously what happens, it's obviously tied to other things that's happened to you in your life. You don't recognise that at the time, but the reason that you are being triggered is there's other things that happen in your life. And it's even with the current COVID-19 situation. People will react very differently. Everybody will react differently for all sorts of reasons, okay? Even people that are normally calm and rational and very relaxed will be triggered for whatever reason in certain things, okay? And some of that stems back to things that have happened to us before. It can be traumatic experiences or things we don't even realise were traumatic, but they were. Or things that we have maybe not resolved, okay? There's something's coming back up. Also, there's this thing about facing our own mortality. For most people, it's quite a frightening experience unless, you've went through these experiences before and you've been able to face them. And we all have different levels of resilience to all these things, but the more tools that you have in your toolbox, or are the most effective. If you can have a really good effective tool, well, you're going to override that as much as you can. And that's why I believe meditation is very useful, because the real point of meditation is to be aware and to be able to it's like you're letting go of that attachment that you have to so many things, that thing that you're holding on, that you're trying to control everything, and you recognise that life flows, and that just like there's life and death and there's different cycles, and you are more in an accepting perspective. And accepting does not mean that you accept that this is your circumstances, that you're not going to be proactive and you're not going to do things to change things. That's a misunderstanding. All it means is that you're not in that fear resistance stage, because when people are in that resistance, they're saying, no, they put themselves under a lot of stress, so they're resistant what's happening at that moment. It doesn't mean that in the next moment or the next hour they can't do something about it, but when it's happening, they're not in that fear and really resisting and saying, this is not going to happen to me, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So in the current climate, one of the biggest things that I see is a big problem for most people is that they are constantly consuming lots of negativity. And that's either exacerbated by people talking about everything that's going on all the time, people going on to social media and constantly reading things that are negative in relation to the present circumstances. Now, of course, we have to educate ourselves in situations like this to be proactive and to keep ourselves safe, and that's fine. But when you keep exposing yourself to information overload that is constantly negative, constantly fearful, what do you think that is doing to your psyche? What do you think that's doing to your mental health? Okay, even the most strongest person that is very strong mentally, when they're constantly feeding their mind with negativity and fear-based words, constantly watching the news, constantly looking for the next information that is all fear-based and is all about negativity, death, this. What you're doing is you are feeding your anxiety, you're feeding your primal fear, and you're feeding that survival response that is already there. The reality is that most of us, even the most positive person, actually has thousands of negative thoughts a day. But the thing is, the thoughts come and then they go. It's when we take the thoughts and we run with them that is the problem, okay? The reason we have so many thoughts like that is because it's designed to help us survive and be aware of danger and to be able to react and to be able to see danger coming. The problem is when then you're exposed to even more negative thoughts and fear-based thoughts, and other people's, if you're highly empathic, other people's negative energy or fears, then it becomes just a constant chronic anxiety and chronic fear. And that is what I'm I'm concerned about the present circumstances because what people are feeding off are constantly feeding off fear. And if people keep going the way they're going to be in very severe chronic anxiety, very strong stress state by the time we get to the end of this, or, during it. So the key here is that you have to slow down. You have to, no matter what you're doing, even if you're on the front line, you have to take steps back to be in the moment, take time to unwind and relax. Okay. And I have included a 5 day free, it's called the 5 days of calm. It's a free course designed, it's just five free gifts. So it's actually more than five gifts because I've added a 6 day and I've added a few gifts there. But basically, it's different tools that will help you switch off, relax. There's one that's included to help you get a better quality sleep. There is, one to help you be more in the moment. There is one to help you let go of all the things that might be piling on top of you and all the things that you're taking on, pressure and fears and stresses that don't belong to you. And there's a couple of other things that are just extra bonuses that I've included in, okay? And things also to heal trauma or things that you can't let go of at the moment, or things that are triggering you, okay? And why I've created this is that, there is a kind of mixture in this bundle. It's just a bit of kind of all sorts of things. But I realise that and my people that follow me are all different stages of their journey and how they work. Some people work very mentally, okay, and they're very in their mindset, and that's what's suitable for them. Other people work differently or are more evolved in certain types of work. The key here is reminding yourself that if we didn't have technology, okay, if this was a current if this was a crisis where we weren't seeing what we've seen in telly, we wouldn't see this amount of drama, we wouldn't be getting exposed to as much dialogue. And what you've got to understand, the unconscious is constantly picking up what is being said, and the unconscious doesn't even realise the dialogue that is going on underneath. Because we go about a day and we're constantly not mindful of everything that's going through our minds, and we're not aware of how much unconscious triggers are being triggered within our brain and our memory, and even the memory cells, and things that's already happened to us. And often negative language, we're not aware of how much that does correlate to other things that's happened to us in life. So it could be triggering a time you were in hospital, or trigger a time you've seen someone else who was dying in the hospital. All these sort of things happen when you've been exposed to a lot of things. We're also been exposed to a lot of visuals. So again, visuals are very powerful. They're very useful in marketing to evoke good, positive images, but they're also used to really trigger fear, and to re-trigger memories that are painful. So just be aware of all that, okay? And if you can reduce how much that you're exposing yourself to all this, you'll feel mentally stronger. Because at the end of the day, the best way that you can get through this is looking after your health and well-being, okay? So, if you feel you need a little bit of support, the 5 days of calm is here. Now, I'm also offering, and there's a message at the end of the 5 days of calm about this, but I am temporarily offering openings up to one-to-one sessions. I actually don't really do that anymore I only offer training, okay? But I have a few slots for people that really feel that they could do with a one-to-one session. This is a temporary offer, okay? So if this is something that you feel that you would like some help with, please get in touch, okay? I'm wishing you a blessed week and a healthy week. Bye for now.